Scientists have made a huge discovery about how life itself may have formed on Earth. The last time we talked about how life likely formed on Earth, we got over 800,000 views, but now there's been a big update. One of the initial theories about how life may have formed on Earth was called panspermia, and this was actually the idea that life didn't form on Earth, it actually formed elsewhere in the universe, but then was transported to the Earth by comets or asteroids. But there was always a lot of opposition to this idea, that whilst we know that some simple organisms like bacteria can survive quite harsh conditions, they also recognise that the likelihood of simple organisms surviving trips lasting millions of years across the stars is very unlikely. But in order to understand a bit more about what could be transported across the stars, scientists took samples from an asteroid called Bennu. And what we found on this asteroid Bennu has basically completely changed what we think about how life may have formed. Because when we think about life today, we recognise that there are key elements that make up life as we know it. One such example is DNA and RNA, and this genetic code is able to store genetic material that then can be passed on to the next generation when you reproduce. And this code has letters. In DNA it's A, T, C and G, and in RNA it's the same except the T is swapped for a U. And scientists have always debated how these base letters came into existence in the first place. Well, on this asteroid Bennu, all 5 genetic code letters were found. So every single base that forms the information of our genetic code was on this asteroid. And asteroids like this that have impacted Earth could equally bring all these genetic bases to Earth. But for my experts out there, you will know that DNA and RNA is not just composed of bases, it's also composed of phosphate and sugar. And what else did they find on the asteroid Bennu? Phosphate and sugar. But interestingly, they found the sugar of RNA, but not DNA, which adds to the growing evidence that RNA as a genetic code actually predates DNA, and DNA only evolved later as a way of stabilizing the genetic code. But here's where it gets even crazier. Our genetic material has genes, and these genes code for proteins, with proteins acting like little machines that do all the jobs around our body, such as sending signals or fixing things. Now, these little protein machines are made from amino acids, and again, scientists have always debated where the amino acids came from. Well, these two were also found on the asteroid. 14 of the 20 amino acids that form the building blocks of our protein machinery were found on the Bennu asteroid. They also found water, organic molecules, and carbon, remembering that we're a carbon-based life form. So whilst this discovery doesn't show us that life was transported to Earth, it shows us that almost all of the fundamental building blocks for life could have been transported. And it also poses the question as to whether the building blocks of life are actually scattered across the universe, and in the right environment will also form life on other planets. So if how life is formed is a puzzle, we've found almost every jigsaw piece on an asteroid.